Alright, let's dive into this because it's a transfer story that's got a lot more layers than it seems at first glance. So, Brentford are on the brink of signing Mamadou Sangare from Lens, and this isn't just another player swap. It's a club record deal we're talking about. What makes this really interesting is the price tag, reportedly over £37 million plus add-ons. That's a massive statement from Brentford, especially when you consider they're essentially replacing Jordan Henderson, who just left the club. Personally, I think this move says a lot about where Brentford see themselves in the next few years. They're not just building a squad. They're aiming for Europe or a domestic cup, and Sangare is a piece of that puzzle. Now, let's talk about Sangare himself. He's 24, which is that sweet spot where a player is hitting their prime but still has room to grow. What many people don't realize is that his journey hasn't been linear. He was at Red Bull Salzburg for 4 years, but spent most of that time on loan in Austria and Belgium. It wasn't until his move to Rapid Wien and then Lens that he really started to shine. Last season, he was one of Ligue 1's standout midfielders, helping Lens finish second behind PSG and even winning the Coupe de France. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a player who's proven he can step up when given the right platform. What this really suggests is that Brentford are betting on potential as much as proven ability. Sangare's athleticism and ball-winning skills are exactly what they need in midfield, especially with Matthias Jensen and Vitaly Janelt carrying the load for so long. But here's the thing. Brentford's midfield has been crying out for reinvention for years. They've got some talent, sure, but they've been over-reliant on the same names. Sangare isn't just a replacement for Henderson. He's a signal that Brentford are ready to shake things up. Now, let's talk about the competition. Crystal Palace were in the mix for Sangare, but they couldn't match Brentford's offer. This raises a deeper question. How much of this move is about Brentford's ambition versus Palace's limitations? Palace have a new manager in Pierre Sage, who worked with Sangare at Lens, but they're clearly not in the same financial league as Brentford right now. From my perspective, this is as much about Brentford's rise as it is about Palace's struggle to keep up in the market. One thing that immediately stands out is Sangare's international experience. He's been a key player for Mali, including at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. That kind of exposure to high-pressure games is invaluable. In my opinion, it's a detail that often gets overlooked in transfer talks, but it's a huge plus for Brentford. They're not just getting a league performer. They're getting someone who's tested on the international stage. If we zoom out, this transfer is part of a bigger trend in the Premier League. Clubs like Brentford are increasingly looking beyond the usual suspects for talent. Sangare's path from Austria to France to England isn't typical, but it's becoming more common. What this really suggests is that the scouting game is changing. It's not just about who's hot in the big leagues. It's about spotting players who can make the leap. So, where does this leave Brentford? Personally, I think this is a smart move, but it's also a risky one. Sangare's got the tools, but the Premier League is a different beast. Will he adapt? Will he justify that price tag? Those are the questions that will define this transfer. But one thing's for sure, Brentford aren't playing it safe, and that's what makes this so fascinating. They're not just buying a player, they're making a statement. And in a league as competitive as the Premier League, that's exactly what you need to do. So what do you think? Is Sangare the missing piece for Brentford? Or is this a gamble that could backfire? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Until next time, keep the football conversations going.